Hello everybody, this is a Skyrim Xbox announcement. Got some news from JJ Adams, dated the 19th, so you might already know about it. But basically, he asked if he could port Skyrim Fighters Guild across to the Xbox. It's a mod I'm especially proud of because you won't really notice it in the foreground, but I've actually been doing guilds for a long time, and that was the best one I did, in my opinion. I did have to remove a quest to get it to work after Bethesda patched something and broke something, but it still works alright. I'll give you some tips for it in this video. The other one is one of my biggest mods, DarkLore Grimoire, and I'll give you some tips for that in this video as well. And I'll post the links below for you. So now this thanks goes out to BassPainter, who's been fairly silent on this matter with me, and JJ. My understanding is JJ is testing and BassPainter is the one porting. And BassPainter ain't messing about, he's getting the job done and he's just getting on with it. You've got to respect a guy who does that. Right, so anyway, good work BassPainter, appreciate it mate. Anyway, let's talk about Skyrim first, Skyrim Fighters Guild first, right? Now, it opens up a guild just outside Solitude where everything starts. And certain other guilds require certain plots to be finished because certain locations are used in a plot, in the default game plot. Like the Markov thing, Forsworn, I can't remember the name of it now. We get locked up in prison. Once that thing is complete, there's a certain, is it Neloth or Natoth or whatever his name's property, it's never used again. So I reuse his property as part of the mod, so it's continued to be useful in the game. So in that particular one, right, it says you finish the Markov quest with involving the prison and being locked up and escaping with the Forsworn, and then you'll be able to just go straight through Fighters Guild uninterrupted. Otherwise it'll wait for you to complete that bit. Anyway, about that, right, because it's not just a normal mod this represents some sneaky little program on my part. I'll give an example using the first quest. The first quest is you do a patrol between Solitude and Dragon's Bridge. Now you go, right, okay, fast travel, minimum points. Oh, points? Did he just say points? Yes, I said points. Right, minimum points, right, because you've made the least amount of effort, so you get the least amount of points. Anyhow, if you were to walk it and you see a few things that aren't normally on that road, and you kill them, and you kill all of them, you get maximum points. That means you end that mission with the most kind of points you could get from doing a single mission. Now what are the points used for? The points are used to unlock the next guild. This means if you do well on the first few missions, you could unlock the next guild, which I believe is a Markov one, sooner rather than later. But if you do really terrible on the missions, you might not unlock it at all. The mod might end with the Solitude mod. So it depends on how well you do to whether you even get to the next level. Anyhow, that's the way that works. But it introduces a few it ties up a few storylines. For instance, right, you might see me using Morphall a lot, right, because of the vampires and werewolves and stuff like that. Well, I've used it as a kind of a supernatural centre, and I've made it into a bit of a story, and that story is revealed in Skyrim Fighters Guild. You see a bit of it, in various plot lines I've introduced, especially in DarkLore Grimoire, but you get the answer to why it's happening in Skyrim Fighters Guild. So if you've got Skyrim Fighters Guild installed, right, and you're playing through the quests in DarkLore Grimoire and you're thinking, why is that? Play Skyrim Fighters Guild last. And if you're not a mage, just play Skyrim Fighters Guild, it's still good, So yeah, there's a story there, tying up a few loose ends. And like I did with my Oblivion mods, a Cyrodiil upgrade, right, they tend to tie in together a little bit. Not to the same degree as the Cyrodiil upgrade, but they do tie in together a little bit. And remember, I am measuring how well you do each quest. So you rush through them, minimal points, nil points. Go away, loser. you do your best, you end up being your own guild master in your own guild hall with an entire team of fighters that you can call upon to aid you. Right, so that's the prize, and that's at Riften. Anyway, DarkLore Grimoire, that's a good one. Basically, I wasn't too happy with the way the spell system worked on Skyrim, but I didn't go around creating too many new spells. There is a lot of new spells, and they're mostly summon spells. You could summon a great many things that you couldn't summon before. Some of them came in the anniversary upgrade kit, anniversary pack. They've had given a few minor things away. Well, you can forget that. You get dozens in this, right? Dozens of new ones. You could become a Dwemer summoner, for instance, and summon their machines with that, if you've got the right skills. So yeah, anyhow, there's basically, I separated the schools of magic to a degree, and I made a Solitude Mages Guild, which basically has all the spells the Mages Guild would allow. But they're not at war with the Necromancers anymore. That was Traven's Mages Guild, and that's long gone. The Solitude Mages Guild is the guild hall that was left in Solitude when the Mages Guild disbanded, right? So it's a standalone guild hall, just where mages meet, have a drink, share stories, practice spells together. And you can get a lot of training there. And to give you some example, right? It's not the only mages thing there, by the way. That's just one out of two, not including Winterhold. Anyhow, it upgrades all the spells. You get 3 levels of each normal Bethesda spell. Level 1, level 2, level 3. Each one of them gets progressively better. And if you get, say, a healing spell, right, and your restoration is at 25, and you then cast that spell so many times, it upgrades you to the next one. You get the next spell in the rank for free, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So it goes on your stats and how much experience you have of casting restoration spells. And if you've got enough of both, you get the rest of the spells, or as they go up the ladder. You don't need to buy anymore, you just need to buy one and practice using it. So yeah, and then the same goes for all the other schools. But there's also like a more natural magic, druid magic you might call it. I haven't called it druid magic, it's just a separate field, it's more nature spells. Right, they've been added to the game as well, but they're mainly summons, like conjuration, but they're not ghosts and they're not Dwemer, not Daedra, Daily, bears, things like that. And you've also got Dwemer, where if you have a certain level in one of your stats and then you manage to get a certain level in conjuration, suddenly you're not just getting ghosts and stuff you can summon, you're getting Dwemer machines as well. Plus, if you focus on one particular school of magic, you get a bonus perk secretly added to your character that makes using them spells, quite good. But you have to keep all the other schools of magic below 25 points. Second they go over 25 points, you lose that perk. Right? So yeah. Anyhow, there's also a Necromancer Guild. Basically, it's just down a bit from the Solitude Mages Guild. And there, as you might expect, you learn mostly conjuration. And they won't even let you join unless you have the right skill set. And if you want to know what the skill set is, go in there and ask. And then you've got Winterhold. There's been quite a lot of changes to Winterhold. I personally wouldn't run this mod with any other Winterhold mod because it'd probably conflict. But anyway, you've got whole sections there, like added mages stores, so you get all kinds of stuff from rings to soul gems to spells. And then if you go, well, there's just lots of stuff. Each one of the areas has its own quests. So each guild has quests you can do and training you can take. You can even make spell books using, I think it's a lesser soul gem and a spell you know. And you can go to a spell altar and create a spell book and sell it for money. You can get, you can upgrade your spells in the same way from the same altars, providing you have the right combination of skills. If you get an error, it's because you need, as in thing you can't do it, it's because you either need less soul gem, right? Or you're not at the right skill or don't know the previous spell. You see, that kind of thing. So it's really thorough upgrade, and it works mostly within the spells you already know. So you're not having to learn what this fancy new spell does because it tells you that you already know from the default game. You just look for DarkLore Grimoire books and use those, and then the whole system works. If you use the default game spells, it won't work because I haven't edited them for compatibility reasons. I stayed well clear of the default stuff in order to make this mod as compatible as possible. Now, there is one other surprise here for you. Right, Solstein, the Telvanni settlement there, it upgrades that as well. That gets its own set of spells, but because that's Telvanni, they don't care about rules, they just want to learn anything. You get most of the spells from there. And they also have shops, and they have a marketplace there now, where see some slaves on sale as well in there. So yeah, it's a massive mod this is, and they all have their own quests. So that is just like Return to Hell Guild, except for each guild has unique quests. And there are certain locations added to the world, you know, so links to these quests. So that DarkLore Grimoire, you know, is a massive, massive mod. Skyrim Fighters Guild, much smaller in comparison. So yeah, right. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the tips. Be sure to thank JJ and BassPainter, right? So, because you do need, if you want to test the mod properly, you need to have a character capable of testing the mod properly. That means multiple restarts of the game, which is a pain in the ass. Right, but I do it all the time, right? But yeah, it should. There are no known issues with either one of those mods that I'm aware of, right? I've fixed the issues that I've been aware of. I might have took my time fixing the Fighters Guild one because, quite frankly, I stopped modding, you know, for Skyrim, so I didn't go back into fix it until recently. But it's back out there now. And then anybody that's wondering what happened to Demon Hunters, right? Basically, it's got a bug, so I've withdrawn it for now. Once I identify the bug, it'll get put back up again. But that's another guild. I'm getting quite good at doing guilds, to be honest. What the first one? The first one I did was a Fighters Guild one for Oblivion, very basic. But the missions, right, would Bethesda would later call Radiant AIs in Skyrim. So years later, they did the same thing in Skyrim as Radiant missions. Then I took it further again in Skyrim. So I'm like one step ahead of Bethesda when it comes to the guilds and quests and depth. Because I always think they miss out. They don't quite get that, you know. Bethesda, you should probably hire me to do your guilds, you know, because I could add some real depth to them, make them feel alive. If you don't believe me, check these out on the Xbox, guys. Right, anyhow, I'm going to leave it there. Enjoy the mods, and be sure to say thank you to JJ Adams and BassPainter, right, who ported them across to the Xbox for you guys. See you later.